pleasure to introduce you guys to a lady that just absolutely has the spirit that we've been talking about. She has the ability to pivot through different things, just really make things happen where she wants to. She has the spirit that we all need right now, which is really just to keep your head in the right place and to keep moving forward. It's not just about positive, but it's about direction. And I just love Laura's way of tackling any of the hurdles that she runs through. So I want to introduce you today to Laura Hardnett. And Laura, tell us about you. Tell us about where you came from, what you're doing now, all of the different things you have your hands in, and just a little bit of that story, because I think this is really important, especially in what we're going through right now.
Yeah, so Connie, thank you so much for having me. When I saw that you had posted like this opportunity to just connect with you, like I just was like, I have to be a part of whatever Connie's doing. I want to be a part of
Oh, you're
because
so kind. Thank you.
you're such a rock star. Our story, right? We met at the med spa. I owned a med spa for a few years, and you came with
Phenomenal
one of my.
place. Love that place.
Oh, I know, I
I
miss
drove
it.
like a long way
I
to
miss
go up
it,
there, but just amazing place.
Thank you. I miss it, but then I don't. That's also part of my story. But yeah, so I just instantly gravitated to you and just how amazing you are with just an inspiring woman, right, in business that was able to have their own business for 30 years, crush it, sell it, and then still have this drive and desire to make more of an impact. And I think that that's what always gravitated me towards you. So
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
yeah, so I'm excited to be here. So a little bit about myself. So I'm Laura Hardnett, and I have three boys, right? So like when you ask me like who they are, like we always define from I have three children, multiple businesses, but really who I am is that I'm really just passionate about helping others see the best in themselves. I think that that is truly what really wakes me up in the morning and excites me. My story a little bit is about I was 17-year-old. I was a 17-year-old pregnant mom. I did not go to college. I don't always share this story with everyone because I think for years I was really fearful and I judged myself that I wasn't enough. But over the years, I realized that a lot of the things that have happened and the trials and tribulations that I experienced really grew me to who I am today. And I think this message that I wanted to share today is really timely because of the fact that we are going through a time that no one has really experienced before, at least no one I've talked to.
Right.
And it's a time where there's so much fear and uncertainty, and that's kind of how I felt at 17 years old, being pregnant. No real goals or vision of what I wanted to be in life. Got involved with some of the wrong people, and then eventually, long story short, I met my husband at 20, and he was going to school to be a chiropractor. And that was exciting to me because I had no idea. Like, I'm like, chiropractor, like, what is that? Like, oh, you get in a car accident and you have to go see a chiropractor, right? That's what I had only known chiropractors for. And so we fell in love, and I just was like, oh, that sounds fun. I'll go with you. I have nothing else going on. He really gravitated and loved my son at the time, who was almost 2, and it just felt right to me. Like sometimes in life I feel like you don't understand the whole big picture. You just kind of make decisions that I feel are divinely guided, and I just kind of went with the flow. I worked at a chiropractic office down there while he went to school. I had my second son, Jaden, who's now 15, and I learned everything. I'm a big believer of that. When you have a desire or a passion and you really put the effort and into whatever you want, you can figure it out, like, right? So I learned everything I could about chiropractic while I worked there. I started at the front desk making like $11 an hour, supporting 2 kids. I moved to CA, which is a chiropractic assistant. Then they moved me up to billing and insurance. And then after 4 years I was there, I was like managing all of their practice. They moved into a multi-million-dollar space because they were doing so well. And we had to decide at that time, do we stay down there or do we come home? Well, we had family at home. So we decided to come home. And in 2007, we opened up our own first practice, which is not really common when you're first out of school, because normally doctors will go as an associate. But because of like my experience with the billing and insurance and things like that, it just made sense that we could do this on our own. There were
Mm.
a lot of fear. A lot of
Sure.
fear came into play. With no money, we bought our first townhouse in 2007, and we bought it right before the crash. So we actually bought our first practice right when the economy had crashed. And that was really scary too, because we didn't know, there was no certainty as well during that time period. And um but we just trusted, we just knew that through our own personal development and the teachings that we learned, and all the studying, we just knew and trusted that everything would work out, right? So I think that that has guided us and myself too through all the different struggles and uncertainty, is the fact that I've always trusted that things will always work out. And so we opened our first practice. It was just me and him. And I remember a funny story is that I didn't want to tell people that we were married, because I always felt like if I worked at the front desk, like people would start to try to like negotiate with me if they knew that I was like one of the business owners, right? So especially when you're dealing with money, right? So I was like, oh, so I would call him Dr. Hardnett, and I didn't have like a name tag with my last name on it. And I remember this one patient came up to me and she was like, "That doctor is so hot." And I was like, and I was like, "Yeah, he's kind of hot, whatever." But but years later, we hired our first person, and I ended up getting pregnant with my third son, Landon, who is now 11. And as we grew the practice, we did everything. We dived in. I'm talking, I had notebooks of just researching what was working with other people, listening to cassette tapes, go into personal development. Like there was no plan B, right? Like it was all in. And I always envisioned making an impact in the community, and I wanted to provide a service where people could heal, not just by the treatments, but by the experience. So I was so adamant about the best customer service, and only speaking positivity to patients that came in, and nothing that was negative, no newspapers that were negative, because I understood how fear-based can not just affect like a situation, it affects our physical body. And when your body goes into fear, it releases chemicals and it changes the chemistry of the body, and it actually makes us sick, right? And so I really was very adamant about our environment, our space. It was more like a spa setting, dim lights, nice, relaxing music. All the staff, we did lots of training on personal development and positivity and mindset. So fortunately, that's always been super instilled in me from the chiropractic profession. And I'm not sure if who's watching, if familiar with chiropractic, but they do a lot of belief in innate ability, like your innate healing, um, and mindset stuff, power of beliefs, right? The Secret. There's a lot of chiropractors on the movie The Secret, and so I was fortunate enough to be able to be like to grow up in that space. So fast forward there, we just grew, we expanded, we opened up other locations, and opened the med spa for 3 years. And one thing I realized at that time, I was shifting as a human, as a woman. I was a young mother who kind of just put everyone else before me. I did what I had to do, and yes, I loved it. But something inside of me was like, "There's more, Laura. There's more. Like you're meant to do more." I didn't know what that more was. I didn't even believe in myself. I thought because I wasn't a college graduate, who would care, who would listen to me, even though I had all this to show, of creating businesses, multi-million dollar businesses. But I still didn't feel like enough. I still felt like that wasn't enough, basically. But so through the years, I started to have this burning desire of trying to figure out what is my purpose on this planet. And that's when I started to tap in. Well, what am I good at? What are people always asking me about? What wakes me up in the morning and gets me excited? And fitness and health has always been my therapy. It's always been my like, I mean, no matter, like, people know me, okay, Laura, like, she's gonna do a workout, right? Kind of like, it's always like, oh, well, Laura, workout Laura, right? So I did get my personal training certification, and I started to go down that path, but something didn't feel right. Something was like, this isn't it. I didn't want to tell people what to do. Like, that didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel right for me to tell somebody what I thought they should be doing. At that time, I didn't know what that meant. I just assumed that personal training wasn't for me. I didn't have any idea that there could be something more. So I went back to the chiropractic office, doing like helping with billing and insurance and marketing and training. Opened the med spa for 3 years, and through the med spa experience, I grew so much in my confidence because I was put into this business that was a multi-million-dollar business, expense wise, right, with all the equipment and the payroll and the overhead. Um, and I loved seeing the outcome and of people coming in there not feeling like, pretty enough, or maybe they were going through a divorce or something happened in their life, and then putting on some makeup or doing a skincare treatment or a laser, and then them seeing themselves for the first time almost and feeling so good, and that confidence that was bringing into their lives. I mean, that was so rewarding for me. But the politics behind it and dealing with some of the drama, I was dying. I realized I was not meant to just be in a location. Like, I think that was a learning lesson for me, is that I felt like my impact was still broader than what I was doing at that time. So I was doing it, but it wasn't still filling me. So again, here we go. We closed the med spa in 2017, lost about $1 million in that, which is another story, along probably more time than we have. But I decided at that point that I would have rather have lost everything in my life than to wake up another day feeling that I was not living my life on the purpose or making the impact that I knew I was meant to make, right? I didn't know what it was still. Like, I still didn't know, but it was like this pit of your stomach, like, feeling. And I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, right? But when you get to a point where you're willing to risk it all because that you need more, it's
Mm-hmm.
super scary. But then again, I always believe that everything is divinely guided, and that I have to follow this inner wisdom, this inner guidance inside of me. Um, Fell into health coaching. I realized I was doing some searching, and when the med spa closed, I knew that the systems at the chiropractic integrative practices were all on point. They were doing wonderful. I didn't really need to go back in there. So I needed to find, again, I'm here at 36 years old, figuring out, like, what is my purpose? And that is when I fell into health coaching, and I realized that was it. It was an aha moment, because the health coaching, I didn't realize that there was even this available to you. I've always been inspired by the power of the mind. There's a book called from Joe Dispenza. I'm not sure if you're familiar, if anyone is familiar, but it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And it's all about the neuroplasticity of the brain and how you can rewire and change, and why we go into our habits and why we're not changing. So that is the long story short, because that is what I do now. That's my purpose. My passion is to help, mostly women is what I feel most gravitated towards, uncovering the limiting beliefs that are keeping them stuck from having the body and the life that they truly desire and deserve. And that is where I'm at today. And that's really where I'm investing most of my time and my passion and my energy into that. So sorry, that was long winded.
No, 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 no. You answered several of the questions that I would have asked you. Some people need me to ask the questions, and you just navigated us through a lot of the things that I would have asked you anyway. So, when I met Laura, like she said, it was back several years ago when she had the med spa. And like I said, I met her through a mutual friend and went to an event they had at the med spa, which was phenomenal, and connected with a couple of people that worked there and with Laura, and just have followed her ever since, and have been just amazed at watching her pivot through these things. And one of the things I really like about this story is exactly what you just went through. That um, uh, those stepping stones of what you've done to try to find that, and part of the purpose of doing this series has been that spirit, right? So like, why do people move? Why do they make this pivot? Why do people take steps? Why do they decide to close a very expensive spa because it just doesn't work? Or why do they choose to start something that they're just not sure how it's going to come together, but they know? And here's one of the things that was really what I really grabbed from this. One of the nuggets I think was really powerful about what you said. Two things. Number one, you knew it just wasn't right. You knew you just weren't feeling what you knew that was there for you. And then as soon as you did, my gosh, I mean, even all of us could see you, your facial expressions even just changed when you were talking about, where you are now and how you found that and just landed on it. You were telling your story and we all were feeling that struggle that you were going through. But just, it's so powerful to hear the nuggets of the change that you were willing to make to make those steps. And it's also powerful because people always feel like, I talk a lot about failure and failure not being what the word is that we've all been trained to believe that is. I think that so important people understand that it's not any of those things. What it is learning. We have whatever life we have time-wise to live, and how you choose to live it is what makes this positive or negative or failure or accomplishment. And failure is only if you ever stop trying to find what it is that brings you that inner success and joy. And so one of the questions I always ask is about superpower and, what makes you get energized. And you just spoke to that. So what I'd like to hear you talk about for a minute, if you wouldn't mind, is that superpower is what, changes you, gives you the tingles, right? Set your hair on fire. I mean, everybody says jump out of the bed in the morning, but literally I think you jump out of the bed in the morning. If you've ever not watched Roy's exercise, I mean, she is just so energized, almost to the point that sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't think I could do that. But you have to know that there's modifications, right? So, but Laura is that person. So talk to us a little bit more about that. So once you decided that you found that health and wellness, how are you integrating that into a life of yourself, of living, but also into a business? How did you navigate that or integrate that into a business?
Yeah, those are great questions too. And you said a couple things that I wanted to also just make sure I acknowledge that, because this isn't like the things that I'm experiencing now it wasn't just an aha. It wasn't just like a overnight thing. These are conscious decisions that I've had to make to choose the mindset that I have. Because my natural mindset is to go negative. It's just how I was raised. The cycle of what happens is we're born into certain families. Our parents do the best that they can with what they know. But previous generations also, were even less interested in how you were feeling and more just like, okay, suck it up, let's go, keep,
Right.
be safe. Don't, don't ruffle any feathers, don't take a lot of risk. At least that's how I was raised. It was like, oh, Laura, just, let's just be a secretary, because that's safe. And that was kind of all they knew. And I say they, but my parents, and I love my parents. But if I was to be honest about all of our upbringings, is that we all have different types of upbringings that create these belief systems in our minds. And it is a choice to either, we have to choose and first acknowledge that the thoughts that we're thinking are not even true, right? And it's, for a lot of people, that's hard to grasp. Yeah, because we want to believe that what we think is truth, but really it's conditioning from how we were raised and what we've decided to choose to believe, right? So for me, it was never easy to just think positive and just take risk and and believe in myself, right? Because I didn't have that belief system. So some of the work that I've had to do over the years is listen to that inner critic. And what I've learned and what I teach in my coaching, right, is understanding that sometimes we hear these voices and we just think that they're the truth. We allow these voices to keep us stuck and to limit our potential. So what I had to do is I had to start getting really clear on what were these voices saying to me so that I could challenge the voices. So I would hear the, you're not smart enough, Laura. No one's going to listen to you. You're not unique enough. Somebody else is doing what you're doing. Who do you think you are? Why don't you just be safe? Like, these are the stories that I've told myself. And so I had to write them down. And this is something that I think is a really great activity for somebody who knows that they want more in their life, but they keep not taking action. They keep stalling and procrastinating. And I think it is when I wrote down what those voices were saying, and then I started to find reasons why those voices were not true. And I would say, you're not smart. Yeah, Laura, you are smart enough. You created 3 integrative practices from nothing, from no experience, And so I had to start challenging these voices. And that was also the fail thing. People would say, I'm so sorry the med spa didn't work out. And I got to a point where I was like, no, this is a good thing. Like,
So they
this is a
chose.
good thing. I learned a lot from this experience. And
Mhm.
and I was strong enough to make a decision to know when enough was enough. And instead of just keeping stuck in a situation and then being regretful later, right? So
Yeah.
I had to, like I said, it's not like I just woke up and one day was like, I'm just born with this gift. It's been years of work that I've decided to choose to think differently. And that's what I help a lot of my coaching, the women in my coaching, because we all know information. We all know what we should be doing, but we're not doing that, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why we're not doing that is because we have stories that we've told ourselves, and we have these inner critics that are keeping us stuck. And it's hard when you feel alone because we've been kind of we don't want to go there. Like, we want to
Right.
stay in the happy place. We don't want to do the work because it's scary and it's uncomfortable and it might bring up stuff that is bad that has happened to you. I've
Right.
coached a lot of women that have gone through a lot of stuff, and they feel alone and they feel less than. And so it's in this like really safe space that we come together, that we can have this very vulnerable opportunity to start peeling through the layers and like an onion, to get to the core of what it is that you want, in the core of what it is that is keeping you from having what you want.
Love this. So if somebody was thinking that maybe they wanted to work with you, tell me what that looks like. So does someone come to you to for health and fitness training? Are they coming to you for more healthy choices on what they're consuming, or is it mind space, or is it a little bit of all of those? And how do you determine that? And how does
Yeah.
somebody know that's what that looks like?
So there's definitely a discovery session, where we get really clear on what are the goals that you have in your mind that you're interested in achieving, right? But a lot of times the goals are very surface level, and they're not. We have a goal. I want to lose weight,
Hmm.
and but the reason underneath that goal is much deeper than just wanting to fit in my jeans. Oftentimes through this discovery session, there is a core need that is needing to be met. But until you can ask the right questions, until we can go through this sequence of questioning to really uncover what is the true reason why you want to lose that weight, and we connect to that, which we call like the MOFA, the motivating factor, the why beneath the why. Like, why is this so important to you? So we start to go through a discovery process to understand what that looks like, and then we also talk about what it would take, what is involved, because a lot of times it's scary because you don't know what to expect. Our brain is made to be safe, right? So we have our
Hmm.
reptilian brain that as soon as we hear change, we freak out, right? Which is why a lot of us now are freaking out, because we don't feel safe. So I try to make this as safe as possible. And this isn't about changing everything in your life. And this isn't about me telling you that what you're doing is wrong. What I believe to be true, is that we lose weight and we become healthier through grace. And grace is when you are kind to your body, when you can't change something and not like, you have to love your body in order to shift to have the body that you want. You cannot get healthy in a stress state. Like, stress and sugar are the two worst things, and people just focus on what to eat. But if your body's in a stress state, it doesn't matter if you're eating organic food, the best food in the world, keto, whatever. If you're not digesting that food, you're not absorbing the nutrients and you're not getting any of the good value from it. So we talk a lot about intuitive eating and how to eat, and understanding what are your belief systems around food and changing habits. So the true health starts in the mind. And that's where I feel I can do the most service with. Like, I don't claim to be a nutritionist or a dietitian. I think that there's people out there that are wonderful. My goal is to help with the mindset that is really the foundation of change in people's lives. So.
Well, that's interesting, because that sort of circles around to, what one of the questions that I have is, as I coach people with learning how to tell their story and how to break down what they've done, their knowledge and their information. And that's how I work with people. One of the things that I start with is, tell me the top 10 questions that people ask you, because that's how we're going to break down how you cultivate what your story looks like and what you're going to talk about. But, so my big thing that I wanted to ask you is, tell me like the number one question or the top two questions that people ask you when they think, well, maybe I want to work with Laura and I want to know this is something that she's always I would assume that she knows. So what's the top one or two questions that you get asked?
I believe that you have to meet people where they're at. So if I tell people I'm going to change your mindset, people start freaking out because they're like, what does that mean? So I feel like the trust that I get and I build with people is through workouts, and through just education of, a lot of people come to me like, what should I eat? When should I eat? Is this healthy? What supplements should I take? What workouts should I do? And I love all that. I mean, that's important, but honestly, you can Google that and find tons of information out there, right? Sometimes I say we need to go on a low information diet because it's overwhelming. And so I find that most people come to me for workouts. Most people come for me for those health questions. But when I start to, the deeper work that we do when it's right for the person, I never force anything upon anyone. I just let people know that if they've been trying to like lose weight, feel better, about themselves, have better health, and they keep getting into the same cycle of starting a program and then just falling off of it, or not seeing results. Like, I've been eating healthy and I've been exercising and I still can't lose the weight. Those are key things. When I hear those phrases or those sound bites, then I start to know that there's something more. There's things that have not been addressed that need to be addressed. And those are the people that can mostly benefit from the program and the things that I do with them. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Right. Very good. Well, I like a couple of things that yeah, for sure.
Okay, good.
And I like a couple of things that you breaking your habit of being yourself. That was that was one of those buzzes that I just really thought, wow, that's really powerful, because I think it sort of feeds along with what you were just talking about. The other thing that I really like that you said is, that you just like to know that everything is able to be figured out, and that's a theme in this entrepreneurial series. That people who are not afraid to go out and try to jump into the pool to try something that they really want to do. Like, we know you make that widget and you make that, or you have an idea for making a widget that is just the thing that everybody has to have. And even if nobody else needs it, you do, but you can figure out how to do it. I mean, I was watching something this morning where these kids at a local high school, that they're using their 3D printers to make the masks that all these healthcare professionals need in the high school, and so they just figured it out. So I like that theme that you had, because I feel like, or that concept that you have, because I feel like that's really a theme through people that have a spirit of wanting to make something better for all the rest of us. And, I talk about this a lot when I do a lot of Facebook Live personally. And I talk about this a lot in that, especially right now when we're all sitting around trying not to watch Netflix and eat brownies all day,
Right.
But I mean, that's what, everybody's
Yes,
joking about how
true.
they're going to gain so much weight. But the thing is, so, share what it is, that fun thing you like to do. Like, whatever your specialty is. If right now, I mean, the weather is phenomenal
Yeah.
in the Maryland area. And so what I like about this, if you love gardening, go out and garden and videotape it. Tell us what to do. Because I'm not really sure how I'm going to raise my cabbage or lettuce or whatever, and we had an entrepreneur last week that was helping us with that. So that's what I love about this, is you just shared sort of a similar theme about, it's in there. It's somewhere in there. We're just going to figure out what it is and get to that root of that. So I just absolutely love all this information. Lastly, I wanted to just spin around. I've done this with a couple of people, well, most everybody. And I think this is really fun in the respect that, because it makes us as entrepreneurs, you as the interviewee, and me, focus in on exactly how that buzzword works. And I do that a little bit because of the side of that I bring to the table of the coaching side, is how to be able to tell your story, how to get your message out there. What do you really know? So if you're stuck in an elevator with 3 people and you have 10 words to say what you do, tell us what it is.
Oh, Connie, I know. I was thinking about that. That's such a good thing. I was always so bad with the elevator pitch, right?
Well, it doesn't
Um,
have to be, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be something clicky
I
and
know. I
perfect,
know some
but
people have it
you
down
know,
like this, and I'm
yeah,
like,
no, no, no. And
dang,
that's not what I'm looking for. What I really want to know is, what do you say that catches my brain? Because that's where this whole
yeah,
alignment of what's your top question, that's what
yeah,
people are asking. So that's what they want to know. And those are the buzzwords. So how do we flip
yes.
that into, oh, what do you do for a living, in a way that somebody can understand it? That's all.
Yeah. I always like to say, like, what I do is that I help people bring out the best in themselves, and I feel like that could be so vague, and I get that, but it's
Okay.
truly
No, but
is
what it
what.
does is it causes me to ask a question, like, what do you mean the best of myself? Like, the smartest or the healthiest or the most efficient in my job? No, I think it spurs a question. So I think it's
Yeah.
really right on point.
Yeah. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people under a lot, and I didn't either know this either. And this is another thing that I like to share because it was so impactful for me, is that when I was deciding which way to go, do I do a health coach or life coach, right? Because
Mhm.
there's the two different types of coaching
Mhm.
when it comes to life or health, right? And the more I dived into it, the realize I'm like, health is life.
Yeah.
So I'm actually certified in both health and life coaching, right? But when you look at like this, the wheel, the circle of, they have, in coaching, there's this very common, I've seen it in multiple different types of coaching. It's like called the wheel of life, or people call it the circle of life, or whatever they call it. But it's really like a circle diagram, and it has all these like pie like pieces,
Mhm.
right? Broken down into the types of, whether it's spirituality, relationships, creativity, education, health, like all of these different areas of this circle. And that is what health, because everything is connected,
Yeah.
whether mind, body. So that's the name of my business, right? Like my coaching is called Fit Mind Body Academy, because you can't have one without the other. You have to,
Right.
your mind has to be fit before your body is fit. And your body, if your body is not fit, then it's most likely that your mind's not fit, right? Because it all is connected. One thing always plays on the other thing. And so when you're in complete alignment with all the different areas of your life, and you have clarity on what areas of your life that you feel like you're doing really well on, and then what parts of your life do you feel like you're not, and then focusing on how to bring that not up to where you want it to be, and understanding. That's why I loved health, is because I really do believe that it isn't just about what diet you should. And actually, I'm
Mhm.
a fan of no diets, right? I'm
Mhm.
a fan of intuitive eating, which is learning how to figure out what's right for your body. And I'm also a fan of, when people ask me all the time, like, Laura, like, I'm sure you don't eat cake, or you don't. I'm like, no, like literally, I said that I think that the recycle guy was judging me because I had like 4 bottles of wine in the last, weekend. I mean, we're all in this at home, and we're dealing with a lot of stuff. And I'm not an advocate of, like, stress drinking, but I enjoy my life. And I think that that's why, I think that that's why people gravitate towards me, because I'm not this Nazi when it comes to, you can't drink, you can't eat sweets. But what we learn in life is balancing, and how can we align all the different areas of our lives together so that we can have balance and enjoyment. Because if you are not enjoying what you're doing, it's not gonna be long term for you, whether that's
Absolutely.
career or even in health choices. So if you're beating yourself up and you're punishing your body and you're not eating, and you're just really feeling like you're depressed all the time and have anxiety because you want something so bad, you become obsessed with it. And then that's how people go into binge eating and stuff like that. So I'm a really big advocate of learning how to balance your life and how to live a life that you can still be healthy, but you also enjoy.
Very good. Very good. I love it. So I'm going to wrap up because I don't like to hold over anybody longer than we anticipated the time. But so many good pieces here, and I really appreciate all your information. I have like a whole page full of notes that I really appreciate you sharing all of that with us. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they find you, Laura?
So I have actually right now I'm doing a series of free coaching on that's how I wanted to give back during the time
Mhm.
where I feel like everyone is at home, we're dealing with all this extra stress, and actually it's very healing for me to share. So on my personal page, which was on Facebook, Laura Hardnett, I have a business page, which is Fit Mind Body Academy, but I know that Facebook filters out a lot of the business pages. So I felt like my larger audience was on my personal page. So I love my personal page is available. So that's kind of where I do the coaching and then I share it on Fit Mind Body Academy. I'm
Yeah.
also on Instagram. And so Instagram TV is where I'll do some of my longer videos. They're only about 8 to 10 minutes, most of the videos. So I've broken them down to where it's like, that you can process each of the learning lessons and use it. And you can always go back and watch them again.
Nice.
But really, I'm doing a series right now for 6 weeks. Every day, Monday through Friday, I show up and do some kind of coaching on what the health coaching kind of work that I do.
Nice.
And yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. Very good. Well, Laura, I can't thank you enough. As I said, I have a page full of notes. This was just so
Thank you.
enlightening. I just really appreciate all your nuggets, your time, and sharing your very raw story with us because, I think that's really important with what we're trying to do here is for people to see that, we're all going entrepreneurs go through. It isn't always all the happy, smiley stuff that you see on Facebook or everywhere else. We all have our challenges and our struggles, and how we get through those is how each of us learn. And the beautiful thing about you sharing is that everybody can see that, hey, these are some real things that we're all going through, and this is how you got through them. So I truly appreciate your genuine nature and sharing all your information, and really hope you guys will check out Laura's her free coaching right now. That's really amazing that you're doing that for us. So thank you so much for your time and being on
Thanks,
our series.
Tony.
I love
I had
talking
so
to
much
you
fun.
again. Good. Well, we'll have to connect personally too, because I haven't talked to you in a long time. So let's make a date.
Sounds good.
All right, girl.
Bye.
Have a great rest of the day. Thank you all very much for
Thank
tuning in.
you.
We'll start back on tomorrow. We have no more interviews this afternoon. We'll start back tomorrow, I think at 11 a.m. But look at my Facebook page and watch for the postings. They'll be up there real soon. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.